classmate.
Don't get no trouble, man.
Give him a great big round of applause, Mr. Hewitt Clarke, right now.
All right, about 15 minutes, maybe 10, 15 minutes, Mr. Jackie Jack White is going to entertain us with the Sukanachi Review. And I'm looking on the map here of Kemper County. By the way, we're going to be talking a little bit tonight about a little history and the connection between the Cab and Kemper County and Meridian. And mostly the old history, civil. We're going to get into Civil War a little bit. We're going to talk about the only Yankee buried in Kemper County, Yankee soldier. Here's a map of Kemper. And I'm looking at the Sukanachi Review. Sukanachi, and that's our creek up there. Jack and Jack, aren't y'all got a creek over there named Sukanachi?
Well, it's mysterious because over here in Mississippi, it's a creek, and then after it crosses the state line, it mysteriously becomes labeled as a river. But you don't want to put a yacht on the Sukanachi River.
Well, I'm glad. No. We're going to talk a little bit about the Cab, and we're going to talk a little bit about Meridian, Mississippi tonight. By the way, we have, any of you people from Mississippi State, we have a professor here that's going to talk just a little bit about a movie he's going to try to put together about a historic situation here in Meridian.
Talk louder. Louder.
Louder, how about that?
That's good.
All right, I just got to get close to the microphone, I guess is what it is. All right. So anyway, Kemper County, let's see what we got here. All right, we're going to talk about the Keys and the Rushes and a few other people and how they migrated from the great county of the Cab, the Lake City, I should say, and to Meridian. First of all, it was Abel Master Keith married Elizabeth Warren. The Cab, 1833, that's when they ran the Choctaws down there. They had a son named Cornelius Key. He married Louisa Rush. That was Ben Rush's sister. If you followed the history of Kemper County, and Captain Ben Rush is a pretty famous guy in the Cab. We're going to talk about that later. But Cornelius was a prisoner of war in Camp Douglas, which was in Chicago. And the death rate was somewhere around 25%. And probably not any more than Andersonville, which they accused the Confederates of killing everybody over there. Anyway, Cornelius had a son. His name was Elmore Ben Key. And that is the father of the Key brothers, Al and Fred, who flew airplanes, the endurance record. You know, the younger people around here don't seem to even know that, but happened in 1935. All right. Jackie Jack White. He's a songwriter. He's pretty well known around the South at one time. I know he's on 40 radio stations.
55.
55 radio stations. He also had a great-grandfather that was captured in Tennessee. He was with the 48th Tennessee Infantry. Became a prisoner of war at Camp Douglas with the Key Nichols. All right, here it is. Camp Douglas in 1864, death rate 23%. Now, I thought I had something else. There. erected to the memory, this is up there in Chicago, the 6,000 Southern soldiers died in that prison camp. The Battle of Franklin. 6 Confederate generals died in that battle. Now, the reason we're talking about it is that was where the 35th Mississippi Infantry, which is in Kemper County, fought against the 65th Illinois Infantry at the Battle of Franklin. There was a soldier in the 35th. His name was Singleton Tisdale. He got captured. He was wounded, thought he was dying. He gave a letter to a soldier in the 65th Infantry, Illinois. Please take this to my wife in Kemper County, because I will be dead. And I'm probably, if I don't die, I'm probably headed to Chicago, the prison camp, where I will die. Anyway, this soldier, his name was James Prouty. After the war, he came down to Kemper County. He contacted the Tisdale. Now, Tisdale did not die, but he was disabled. And this Yankee soldier liked the Tisdale's wife's sister and married her, stayed down here the rest of his life, buried in Blackwater Cemetery. He built the Methodist Church in Daleville, died in 1950. Now, that's part of the story. We're going to talk a little bit about Captain Ben Rush in a minute. All right, here's Tisdale, buried in the Blackwater Cemetery. And here's James William Prouty, 65th Illinois Infantry. He is also buried out there in the cemetery. And he is from southern Illinois, called Little Egypt. Now, Little Egypt was settled by a lot of Southerners from Tennessee. And they tried to secede from the state of Illinois before the Civil War and then join the South. Of course, they couldn't do it. But there is a lot of sympathy in Little Egypt from the Southerners. All right, that's Prouty's grave in Blackwater Cemetery, which is just over the line there near Daleville. All right, we're getting into Reconstruction now. A lot of bad stuff happened in Reconstruction, a lot of bad stuff in Meridian, Kemper County, lasted 10 years. Now, in Meridian, we had what they call the Meridian Riot. That was in 1871. And this was when the Democrats took over the government here, ran the Republicans out of town, ran the Yankee mayor back up north, and took over the government of the state. Now we've got a professor here from Mississippi State. His name is Ed Solomons, and he's here with us. And he's going to try to make a movie out of this riot. And I've been talking to him off and on. I don't think about making movies, but I told him I'd help him a little bit if I could. But come up here, Ed, and tell us what you're doing.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to be really brief. I was doing research on this particular topic at Mississippi State, and I found so much information about this to be pivotal, unique, and just phenomenal. So I decided what I would do is, like Clarke said, make a movie about it. And I'm also, but prior to making the movie, I also have some research done on the topic. And if anyone would like to read my research, it's going to be published in June. And if you want to get an email address to me or a way I can get in contact with you, I can get you a copy of my research so you can see what I've discovered about the riot. A couple of things really quick that I will share. One is that the Meridian Riot proves that Reconstruction, even though it was officially ended in 1877, as far as Meridian was concerned, Reconstruction ended in 1871. That's just, as far as Meridian, that's one nugget of knowledge. The other is that in establishing the end of Reconstruction, the second-class citizenship of Negroes in Meridian, blacks in Meridian, was also established at the end of this particular riot. So you have two very important aspects of history that seem to have gone, I guess, lost in history. So these are a couple of things that I'm going to be revealing, and they are revealed in my research. So if you be, like I said, feel free to get in touch with me via email. I have my contact information available, and I can thank Mr. Clarke. I apologize for not meeting with him at 2 o'clock earlier. I was paying my respects to one of my former students who passed, and his funeral was today. His name was Jonathan Anderson. So that was that. So Mr. Clarke, thank you again. And
Thank you. Good luck to you. I think Ed was writing the paper on it for his PhD. Is that right, Ed?
that is correct.
Okay, well, good. Good luck to you. All right, that's the Meridian Riot. Now we're going into what they call in Kemper County the Chisholm Massacre. And that was the blood feud between the Gullies and the Chisholm in 1877. I'm not going to go into it because I think we all know that it was a result of the Reconstruction period. And there's John Gully. And John Gully got shot and killed, and they blamed it on Ben Rush, Captain Ben Rush, because there's been a lot of bad blood there. Well, they ran Ben Rush out of town, and he wound up north. Now this is Chisholm. This is William Wallace Chisholm. He was a Republican. All right, now let's go up to Odin, Illinois. Now, I have a picture of Captain Ben Rush's grave that is in this cemetery, and I put it in a place where I was sure not to, won't forget it, but I forgot where I put it. Anyway, it's in this cemetery, and which is in Odin, Illinois, and this is the hometown of the guy named Prouty, the Yankee soldier buried in Kemper County. So there was a lot of talk going on between Tisdale, Ben Rush, and Ben Rush is kin to the Rush family here, and he's buried up there. Today you have people in the Rush family named Ben Rush. I don't know, y'all remember Fred Phelps? Remember him? You ever look at his website? Well, Fred is a pretty interesting character from Porterville. He grew up in Porterville, went to school in British. I sort of remember this guy. But he's out there in Kansas, and he has these wild websites. Now, he's got stuff worse than that. But anyway, he is something else. And he came out of Porterville, Kemper County. If you get a chance, put him on Google it. I've got some stuff on there. I really don't want to talk about it here. Somebody start throwing stuff at me. 3 foot building, a lot of controversy, We're going to tear it down or not tear it down? I talked to one of the ladies in town in the Jewish community, and I said, I need to talk to somebody about the 3-foot building, about Sam 3-foot, who committed suicide on the top floor of this building in 1934. So I said, okay, I'll try to see what I can do. Next day she called me and said, I have you lined up to see Ellie Clove. I think all of us probably bought clothes from Ellie Clove back when. He's 96. He is very with the Jewish family here. They're all intermarried, you know. His grandmother was a 3-foot. And I was just wondering if he could tell me the circumstances of why he committed suicide on in this particular year, at this particular time. Because I know that the building was foreclosed shortly after it was built. It was built in 1929. Then you had your crash, and the family went bankrupt. They had huge holdings all over the South, and they went broke. But anyway, he said the background on it was that the 3-foot, of course, the German name is Dreyfus. And when they got to the U.S., they changed the name to 3-foot. Now, they were from Alsace. You heard of Alsace-Lorraine. Alsace is the biggest part of Alsace-Lorraine, but that's where they were from. And he talked about, this was in France, and that the Jews in Alsace and in most of France really appreciated Napoleon Bonaparte. He freed them. He let them have a last name, and he gave them freedoms where they didn't have to live in the ghetto. So he said there are an awful lot of Jewish people that have Napoleon as a last name. But anyway, that's where they were from, was Alsace. They went bankrupt in the Depression, and the question now, there's a black cloud hanging over that 3-foot building. I guess they hope they can save it. I don't know the circumstances, but I think it's going to come up pretty quick. All right, we've got the Sukanachi Review here, and Jackie Jack. And by the way, he's doing this for very cut rate money, because we don't have that money we can afford to hire.
Harold Rush.
But anyway, we appreciate him being here, and so we're going to eat it 7, I guess, now.
Well, we'll just play and take it easy. How's that? That sound like a good idea? You don't have anybody have price or anything like that? Say price?